Hi guys, picture this. You are standing in Marina Bay. Skyscrapers piercing the clouds. Lamborghinis pulling at the traffic light. This country is 2x smaller than Delhi. It has no farms. It imports 90% of its food. No oil well pumping black gold in Singapore. Even the water that comes in is pumped in from Malaysia through giant pipes. But instead, from 1965, when Singapore's per capita GDP was just about $500, today it is more than $90,000 per person. That's 180x growth in just about less than 5 decades. It's 30 times than what an average Indian makes today. Think about that. Delhi has 3 times more people, infinitely more land, and actual natural resources. Yet, this resourceless rock in the ocean out-earned the entire continent. The question that should be burning in your mind right now is, how did they pull this off? And I'm equally curious, and I'm going to tell you how did they do it. Let's go back to the day a country was born from rejection. August 9th, 1965. While most countries celebrate independence with fireworks and parades, Singapore, their Prime Minister went on TV and cried.
For me, it is a moment of anguish because all my life, will you mind if we stop for a while?
No, really. Lee Kuan Yew, the man who would later be called the architect of modern Singapore, broke down on national television. And honestly, he had every reason to do so. Here's what had just happened. Malaysia had literally kicked Singapore out. Imagine being dumped, but instead of losing a partner, you lose an entire country. One day, Singapore was part of Malaysia, getting resources, military protection, and open trade. And the next day, you're on your own. Singapore started with the hand of cards that was impossible to win with. The Singapore River was so polluted, it was basically flowing sewage. Tuberculosis was everywhere, and the racial fabric, it was shredded. Just a year before independence, racial riots had torn through the city. Chinese versus Malays. Blood on the street, 36 dead. The social tension in that country was like a ticking time bomb. Lee Kuan Yew gathered his ministers, mostly lawyers and teachers in their 30s. And he told them, we have nothing. No resources, no army, no money. But we have one thing that nobody can take away. Our will to survive. In 1960, only 9% of Singaporeans lived in public housing. The rest lived in slums and squatter settlements. Fires were common. The Bukit Ho Swee fire in 1961 left 16,000 people homeless in just 4 hours. The government didn't just rebuild, they launched the HDB and said, we are going to house the entire nation, and very fast. But here's the genius part. They didn't just give houses away, they forced people to buy them using their pension funds, the CPF. Suddenly, everyone had a skin in the game. You don't riot when you own a property. You don't destabilize a country when your life savings are tied to its concrete. And then came the economy. They looked at a swamp called Jurong, literally the mangroves and crocodiles, and said, let's build factories here. Everyone called it Go's folly. They spent 100 million draining the swamps for factories that didn't exist yet. But that was the vision. For 3 years, it was a ghost town. And then slowly, people started migrating and setting up the factories. First, a textile factory, then a ship repair, and by 1970, Jurong had 300 factories employing 50,000 people. The swamp had become the engine. Once the lights were on, they had to sell Singapore to the world. Lee Kuan Yew went door to door, except that these doors were corporate headquarters in New York and London. He pitched CEOs personally, "Come to Singapore, we have no strikes. Our workers show up on time. We speak English." When Rolei, a German camera company, was considering Singapore, Lee personally guaranteed them no strikes for 5 years. When they asked how could he promise that, he said, "Because I said so." And they came. To make Lee Kuan Yew's promise work, Lee made the most controversial call of his life. He decided English would be the main language of education and business. Not Mandarin, not Malay, and he pissed off the traditionalists. Parents protested. 20 years later, when every major bank wanted an Asian headquarters, guess which country had the only English-speaking workforce in that region? Singapore. But none of this mattered if the politicians steal the money. In 1986, Lee's own minister and close friend, Teh Chiang Wan, was caught taking bribe. A full investigation was ordered. They wrote a suicide note to the Prime Minister before ending his life. Lee went on TV. Everyone expected sympathy for his friend. Instead, he read the note and said, "The law must take its course. No one is above it." That single moment sent a shockwave globally. It told investors, your money is safe here in Singapore. Today, Singapore is ranked one of the least corrupt nations on earth. Pull up a Google map. See the narrow strip of water next to Singapore. This is called the Strait of Malacca. 25% of all globally traded goods pass through this thin strip of water in Asia. Singapore weaponized this location. In 1972, they built a container port when everyone else said containers were a fad. Today, a ship that takes 3 days to unload in Los Angeles takes just about 8 hours in Singapore. Singapore became the world's middleman. Oil from the Middle East refined in Singapore. Electronics from China shipped through here. They don't own the products, they just own the flow of all these products through one single port, that is Singapore. Mission accomplished. Singapore is rich, but now let's talk about the price tag. Because the paradise isn't cheap. Singapore is over 300% more expensive than India. Let me also tell you about my friend Rishi who moved there. First day, he goes to buy groceries. Bread, eggs, milk, chicken. The bill, $87. He thought the cashier made a mistake. No. Welcome to Singapore, where a coffee is $6 and a beer is $15, at least. The car situation, this is where it gets amazingly insane. In India, you can buy a car. In Singapore, you have to first buy the right to buy the car. That is the license. It's called COE. That piece of paper could cost you $80,000. That's not for the car, that's just for the permission to buy a car. A Toyota Corolla that cost $25,000 in India would cost you $120,000 in Singapore. Housing, rent for a 3-bedroom apartment in the city center in India, maybe 40,000, maybe a lakh. In Singapore, you're looking at 5.5 lakh rupees a month. Then the paychecks arrive. The median salary is around 3.5 lakh a month. Taxes top out at about 22%. In India, they hit 30%, much faster. Plus the big stuff. Healthcare, education, public transport is world class. My friend Rishi, after the $87 grocery shock, he realized he was still able to save some money out there given that the taxes are lower than India. Is it a perfect utopia? No. Singapore is often called the stress capital. Students here have the best test scores in the world, but they also have some of the highest anxiety levels. It's an arms race. Kids go to school, then tuition, then enrichment classes. Parents spend $30,000 a year on extra tutoring just to keep up. And freedom? This is the fun part. Chewing gums are banned. If you put a graffiti, you are awarded cane. Drugs, it's a death penalty. The government's argument is simple. You want Swiss living standards, accept Swiss rules. You want American freedom, accept American crime rates. Most Singaporeans took the deal. You can walk anywhere at 3 a.m. midnight. Women in Singapore jog at midnight with headphones on. It's a boring, safe, and rich place. So what can we learn? Singapore didn't wait for resources to rain from the sky. They didn't blame geography or its history or the colonial past. They just looked at what they had, a strategic location, a human potential, and squeezed every drop of possibility from it. Geography is negotiable. Corruption is a cancer. Your people are your only resources. If a tiny island with no food, no water, no land can become one of the richest places on earth in a single generation, what is everyone else's excuse? There are no impossible countries, only countries that choose to remain impossible.